Here are a couple of troubleshooting tips when you first start working with nodes. By far the most common problem when you start working with nodes is you'll hook up a node like this and you'll say, okay, how about a blur? And then you go, why isn't it blurry? I put the blur on here, why isn't it blurry? Well, the reason is you haven't adjusted the controls in the inspector. So even though you have a blur connected, you need to go to the inspector and boost up that blur size. And this happens with a lot of different nodes. If you put a color corrector on, guess what? Nothing happens until you actually adjust the stuff here in the inspector. Might seem obvious, but it'll get you. Here's another thing that will throw you for a loop. If you hold Shift and you grab a node and you drag it, you can drag it in or out of a connection. So let's say we have our trusty blur and we want to put our color corrector in between our blur and our media out. I can grab this and hold Shift and it will let me drop this onto that blue line again. If I hold down Shift, I can grab it out really quickly and put it somewhere else. So this is super convenient if you remember that that's how it works. It's not super great if you're trying to say, select both of these and you select one and you hold down Shift and you grab the other one and it just removes it. So if you want to select both of them, hold Control, and that's how you do it. So Shift is convenient, but it can mess you up. Speaking of getting messed up, watch this silliness. Say we have the blur, say we have our blank composition here. I grab a blur and drag this down here, and then I hold down Shift and click it once. Now, does anything look wrong to you? Well, it doesn't really look wrong, but check this out. If I blur this, look, I'm pushing up the blur size. Everything's connected. This thing is on. What is the deal? Well, if I take this and grab it, you can see it's not actually connected. It's just on top of that line. So what you'll see people who work in Fusion do quite a bit is once they connect a node, they grab it and kind of shake it like this. And that's an easy way to tell whether it's actually connected or it's just on top of things. So let's go ahead and connect it here. And now when we grab this and shake it, you see it moves the lines around. And of course it's blurred this to heck. So that's a little pro tip. Shake your nodes. The other thing I see people do a lot is instead of connecting something to the yellow input, they'll connect to the blue input, which again, we're gonna go over in a second. And they look and nothing's happening. Why is it broken? Oh no, what do? Do we throw our computer away? No. This blur is expecting an image in the yellow input and you put it in the blue input. Which by the way, the inputs for the nodes aren't always in the same place. It's really dependent on what the color is. You can see you can even go, this blue could be on top or on the left or on the bottom, and it works the same way. It's all about the color. Generally, nodes flow from left to right, but you could just as easily have them flow from right to left. I think it's super confusing to do that, so I wouldn't recommend it. But your clue is the outputs are these little white squares, and the inputs are an arrow, and the input triangles are really an arrow to which way things are flowing. So this is flowing this way, this one is flowing this way. Important things to consider. So again, the reason this blur doesn't work is because this line should be connected to the yellow input like that. If you're having trouble remembering what input to use, you can always disconnect it just by clicking the line. And then if you right click and drag off of that output, and then you let go, and then you let go on top of a node, it'll give you this little menu and it will show you which one, and it will let you pick which one you want to connect it to by just telling you what it is instead of you having to remember the colors. So what we want is input, which is the yellow, and we blur in everything and it's so good. So there are some troubleshooting tips for working with nodes.